Before we begin, I want to ask you a simple question. Have you spent years trying to eat healthy, following the advice you were told was good for you, only to find yourself gaining weight, feeling more tired, taking more medications, and struggling with health problems that seem to get worse every year? So you're not alone. And what I'm about to share today may completely change the way you think about food for the rest of your life. Before we begin, make sure you subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, and type health in the comments below. I always enjoy hearing from our viewers, and I'd love to know where you're watching from. Now let's dive in. For more than 50 years, millions of people around the world followed one nutrition guide that was presented as the gold standard of healthy eating. It appeared in schools, hospitals, doctors' offices, health magazines, and government recommendations. It was called the food pyramid. Most people assumed it was built on decades of scientific evidence. But what if I told you that the original food pyramid was never actually designed to maximize health? What if I told you it was created because of an economic crisis? And what if the rise of obesity, diabetes, heart disease, and chronic illness has finally forced experts to completely rethink everything? Today we're talking about what many experts are calling the biggest nutrition policy reset in modern history. The food pyramid has literally been turned upside down, and the foods we were told to avoid for decades are now being recommended again. To understand why, we need to travel back to 1974. Sweden was facing a serious food price crisis. Families were struggling to afford meals. Food costs were rising rapidly. The government needed a solution that would help people eat cheaply and stay full. So officials created a simple system. Foods that were inexpensive and filling became the foundation. Bread, rice, potatoes, cereals, and margarine. Foods that were more expensive but often more nutritious, such as meat, fish, eggs, butter, and vegetables, were placed higher up. The goal wasn't better health. The goal was affordability. But something unexpected happened. Within a few years, other countries adopted similar recommendations. Eventually, much of the world began following versions of the same pyramid. And over time, what started as an economic solution became accepted as nutritional science. For decades, the message stayed the same. Eat more carbohydrates. Eat less fat. Choose low-fat products. Avoid saturated fat. Replace butter with margarine. Limit red meat. Choose vegetable oils. This advice was repeated over and over again. Yet, while these recommendations spread across the world, chronic disease rates exploded. Today, more than 75% of American adults have at least one chronic disease. Think about that for a moment. 3 out of every 4 adults. Not just older adults. Adults of all ages. Even more alarming, approximately 60% of adults between the ages of 18 and 34 already have a chronic health condition. 1 in 3 teenagers shows signs of prediabetes. Obesity has increased dramatically over the last several decades. In 1980, obesity affected roughly 15% of adults. Today, that number exceeds 40%. Healthcare spending has reached record levels. Trillions of dollars are spent every year treating chronic illnesses. Heart disease, type 2 diabetes, high blood pressure, fatty liver disease, metabolic syndrome, inflammation, depression, cognitive decline. So experts began asking a difficult question. If we've been following the advice for decades, why are we getting sicker? That question led to one of the most significant reviews of nutrition science ever conducted. And the conclusions surprised many people. The old pyramid placed grains at the very bottom, recommending 6 to 11 servings every day. Bread, pasta, rice, crackers, cereal. These foods formed the foundation of the modern diet. Meanwhile, fats were pushed to the top. The message was clear. Avoid fat whenever possible. Buy fat-free products. Choose low-fat dairy. Remove the skin from chicken. Avoid butter. Fear eggs. Fear red meat. But now everything has changed. The new nutrition model places protein and healthy fats at the foundation. Grains have been dramatically reduced. This isn't a minor adjustment. It's a complete reversal of the advice many people followed for generations. One of the most shocking changes involves dietary fat. For decades, butter was treated like the enemy. Saturated fat was blamed for heart disease. Eggs became controversial. Red meat was criticized. Meanwhile, highly processed seed oils became the preferred option. Soybean oil, corn oil, canola oil, vegetable oil. These oils found their way into nearly every processed food in the supermarket. But today, many experts are encouraging a return to minimally processed fats. Butter, olive oil, natural animal fats. foods that humans have consumed for centuries. And perhaps the most important lesson emerging from all this is that health may depend less on counting calories and more on eating real food. In fact, one country has quietly focused on this idea for years: Brazil. Instead of obsessing over nutrients, Brazilian guidelines focus on food processing. Their message is simple: eat real food, avoid ultra-processed food. The more natural the food, the better. And many researchers now consider this one of the most scientifically sound approaches available. Because when people replace ultra-processed foods with real food, remarkable things often happen. Blood sugar improves. Hunger decreases. Weight becomes easier to manage. Energy increases. Inflammation declines. And overall health begins to improve naturally. But the most important changes are still ahead. Because what the new recommendations say about protein, sugar, grains, aging, and chronic disease could completely change how you think about your next meal. And if you're over 50, the next few minutes may be some of the most important nutrition advice you've ever heard. Let's start with protein, because this may be one of the most important changes of all. For years, adults were told that relatively small amounts of protein were enough. But as we age, our bodies become less efficient at using protein. Muscle loss accelerates. Strength declines. Recovery slows down. Balance becomes more difficult. Many people don't realize that after age 50, muscle loss begins occurring every single year. And by the time weakness becomes noticeable, years of muscle tissue may already be gone. This matters because muscle isn't just about appearance. Muscle is one of the greatest predictors of independence, mobility, and longevity. Strong muscles help control blood sugar, support healthy metabolism, protect against falls, maintain balance, preserve quality of life. That's why newer recommendations nearly double previous protein targets. And unlike older guidelines, protein sources such as eggs, fish, poultry, dairy products, and even red meat are no longer viewed as foods that should be avoided. In fact, they're now recognized as valuable tools for healthy aging. But protein isn't the only major shift. Let's talk about sugar. For decades, nutrition guidelines allowed significant amounts of added sugar. Yet today, experts acknowledge a simple truth. There is no biological requirement for added sugar in a healthy diet. Excess sugar contributes to insulin resistance, obesity, type 2 diabetes, fatty liver disease, chronic inflammation, and accelerated aging. The new message is simple. The less added sugar, the better. But perhaps the biggest change of all involves ultra-processed foods. For years, nutrition discussions focused on calories, fat, and cholesterol while largely ignoring food processing. Yet, ultra-processed foods have become a dominant part of the modern diet. Sugary cereals, packaged snacks, fast food, frozen meals, sweetened beverages, processed desserts. These foods are designed to be convenient and highly addictive. They encourage overeating. They disrupt blood sugar regulation. They increase inflammation. And they make maintaining a healthy weight far more difficult. For the first time, nutrition recommendations are openly acknowledging the dangers of ultra-processed foods. And this may be one of the most important advances in public health. Now let's discuss carbohydrates and grains. The old pyramid recommended 6 to 11 servings of grains every day. The new recommendations dramatically reduce that amount. But here's something important to understand. Not all grains are equal. Highly processed grains behave very differently from whole grains. Ancient grains behave differently from modern refined wheat products. The more processed a grain becomes, the faster it raises blood sugar. The faster blood sugar rises, the harder the body must work to control it. For metabolically healthy individuals, moderate amounts of whole grains may fit perfectly into a healthy lifestyle. But for someone struggling with obesity, insulin resistance, prediabetes, diabetes, or metabolic syndrome, even healthy grains may need to be limited. This brings us to perhaps the most important lesson of today's video. There is no perfect diet for everyone. Some people are maintaining excellent health. Others are trying to reverse years of metabolic damage. Some people tolerate carbohydrates well. Others experience dramatic blood sugar spikes. Some thrive with more fat. Others do better with a different balance. That's why understanding your own body is so important. The goal isn't simply to follow guidelines. The goal is to create a lifestyle that helps your body function at its highest potential. If there's one message I want you to remember today, it's this. Focus on real food. Prioritize protein. Choose healthy fats. Eat plenty of vegetables. Reduce added sugar. Eliminate ultra-processed foods whenever possible. and pay attention to how your body responds. Sometimes the most powerful health changes aren't complicated. They're simply a return to the foods humans have eaten for generations. After more than 50 years, nutrition advice is finally moving in a new direction. Not because trends changed, not because opinions changed, but because reality forced experts to ask better questions. And when we ask better questions, we often discover better answers. Remember, the choices you make today determine the quality of your life tomorrow. The dinner you eat tonight may influence whether you remain strong, active, independent, and mentally sharp at 70, 80, or even 90 years old, or whether chronic disease gradually takes away the freedom you've worked your entire life to build. The good news is that it's never too late to start. Every healthy meal is a step in the right direction. Every better choice is an investment in your future. If you found this video helpful, leave a comment below and tell me which nutrition myth surprised you the most. Was it the truth about fats? The new protein recommendations? The dangers of ultra-processed foods? Or the dramatic changes to the food pyramid? I'd love to hear your thoughts. And if you're committed to protecting your health, maintaining your independence, and living your strongest years after 50, make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, and join our growing community. Thank you for watching. Stay healthy, stay strong, and I'll see you in the next video.